Michael, thank you so much for joining me on Coaching Call. How are you today?
I'm doing fantastic. I'm thrilled you asked me to be here, and I'll go help some people.
Absolutely. One of the things that a lot of people forget to do is ask, right? And when I saw the opportunity to ask you, I was like, of course I'm going to ask him. And the first time I met you, because I had actually started listening to your podcast last year, and that's how I fell in love with you because of everything that you're doing, right?
Thank you.
And when I asked you, and I said, "Oh, looking forward to it," you gave me a hug and just touched me because most people reach out their hands, right? I'm a hugger, so it was like, "Yeah, buddy, let's do it." But I felt that like instant connection, like you're for real. You don't mess around. You're the real deal.
We don't have any time to mess around in life.
We don't. We don't. I read your book, and by the way, love your book.
Thank you.
So, one of the things that your book tells us, of course, of your childhood, how you came up, things that you had to go through in order to become the person you are. But there's probably things I didn't get in the book.
There's a lot of afterwards. When you finish a book, the first thing when you're done is like, I left that out. But if you had to write everything, you'd be writing this
absolutely
mammoth thing. So It was what's in it's what's in it, and what's not's not, and that's it. So yeah, man, let's go at it.
Let's go. So tell me, who really impacted you when you were a little guy? What made you start thinking the way you think? Who would you say truly made you the biggest impact?
Okay. So that's an interesting question, because whenever I get a question like that, what happens is you think of things you don't normally think of. So there are a lot of people, and it's funny, the older we get, I don't know if our memories clear out of shit that just doesn't matter, or our brains just clear things out. So I remember being at my grandma's funeral. This is interesting. I don't think I've ever said this before. And I had a cousin who I don't really even know if he's a cousin. I don't know those people like cousins. Are they a cousin? Are they an uncle? I don't know what they are. So I think he's a cousin, and somehow removed or something. And his father was a legal counsel for the New York Jets. Okay. And we're leaving, and my parents had like Buicks and fancy, like, that's about it. A Buick and an Oldsmobile growing up. And this guy had a Saab convertible, right? And I remember he was 19. His dad let him drive. I was maybe 13. I'm with a guy I don't really know driving. And he lit up a cigarette. And I'm looking at him going, man, like, what if your dad found out? Like, 'cause I don't smoke. We don't smoke. I mean, that's ridiculous. And he looked at me and he said, are you going to listen to your parents forever, or are you going to live your own life? He goes, my parents know I do this. Now, I never started smoking and never did anything, but I thought about that question. It wasn't, are you going to listen to your parents? And it was about smoking. It was weird. But he said, are you going to live your own life? And I never thought about how many of us are still living a life that someone else wanted us to live versus who we really are. So I would say that sentence impacted me. I probably didn't know it for 30 years, but that impacted me in a big way. Later on, when I went into business, I think it helped me because my parents would have loved if I got a regular job, but it was like, who would think it was about smoking that would again get me to say, no, I'm going to be an entrepreneur. Right. Or taking it a step further and saying something to the effect of later on in life, no, this is how I want to live and this is how I stand my ground. So I would say sometimes it's the strangest conversations. I don't even know this relative's name. I don't even know where I would find them. Okay. Right. But I'm going to tell you, that was a big piece that shifted me in my life. And as silly as that is, again, folks, nothing to do with the smoking. It was the line that he said. It was those words that got me. And there's a lot more to it, but that's an interesting answer I'm going to give you.
Yeah, no, I like it because you took away what most people wouldn't. Yep. Most people would have said, yeah, you know what? I'm not going to listen to my parents. And yeah, give me one, right? I'm going to light up. But you took it a step further, which most people don't do. And you listened to the key, I guess you could say the key message.
Yes.
Which was, are you going to live your own life?
Yeah, that's what he said. And I don't think I realized that till today. Like, I don't think I got that till today that he said that, because those were his words. And then that fit as a arc in a lot of areas of my life, like my diet, health, relationship, everything. Like that little phrase at a peak time. Now, granted, maybe he didn't say that during a funeral. Maybe he didn't say that that day. Maybe if he wasn't lighting up the cigarette, maybe if I was in an Oldsmobile, it wouldn't have hit.
Right.
Fancy car, emotional day, new experience, big words.
Yeah, yeah. And you never know when those are going to come.
No.
Right? You never know. You learned that, and without it, probably in your subconscious.
Yep.
And you did everything your way.
Yes.
Because
Like Sinatra, I did it my way. Yeah.
Right. Listen, you grew up in New Jersey. I grew up in New York, but it's those messages that we get, because I've had a million messages, and tons of them have been negative.
Yep.
Had I listened to those, I would have been a different path.
Now, let me ask you: were they negative, or you heard them in a negative way?
They were negative.
Well, what were they? Let me hear them. Let's play a game. What were they?
Okay, so believe it or not, probably nobody knows this about me, but at 9 years old,
they're about to find out.
Not 9 years old, right? My brothers were smoking.
Yep.
And guess what they said at 9 years old? Here you go.
Yep.
Have one. And I was scared, but it was my older brother telling me, have one. And of course, he said some words that are not appropriate to say. So I said, okay. And at 9 years old, I started smoking.
So
now,
let me ask you a quick
crazy
question. I'm going to ask you a crazy question about that to reframe that for the rest of your life, because my communication is my thing. Was it the day you started smoking, or was it the day that you found out that your confidence was not as strong as you needed it to be? I just want to ask you, which day was it? Because there's 2 days that were the same day.
Well, I don't think my confidence was not there to begin with.
Of course it wasn't. So
that's why I started smoking.
Of course you did. So that day you got your confidence tested and it didn't work.
Yeah. But here's the key, right? Believe it or not, I smoked like every so often here and there until eventually I smoked almost a pack a day as under 12 years old. And one day I'm sitting with my friend who's also smoking, and we're both the same age. And I looked at my hand and I had a cigarette and I'm like, what is this? What am I doing? So I kind of flicked it and I said to my friend, here you go. And that was the day I quit.
Wow.
I questioned myself. Why am I doing this? I was probably like 12, maybe 13. Why am I doing this? Look, I love sports. I'm an athlete. I'm always running, jumping, doing all these crazy things. But thank God the cigarettes didn't affect me in that way. And so I said to myself, why am I doing this? And I think from that moment on is when I truly learned the power of my mind.
Yep.
Because at that point, I let nothing control me. I have no habits that I can't change. Like every so often I'll say, you know what? I put my shoe on the right foot. I'm going to do it on the left now. Or I'm Colombian, right? I got here when I was 8 years old. I came from Colombia. And I drink coffee all the time. I can have a full pot of coffee and go to sleep. But here's the thing, right? I said, I'm not going to drink coffee now. Just like that. Just because I want to prove to myself constantly. And I change things all the time. Because I want to make sure that I am in control of my life and no one else is. And that's why what your friend, your family member said to you was so important. But I kind of said it to myself.
Yep.
So,
in New York, I mean, the funeral was in New York. You and I might have had the same moment there at the same time, right?
Possibly. I've been to too many funerals, unfortunately.
Yeah. This was in Queens.
Yep. That's where I grew up.
Yep.
I grew up first, when I came from Colombia, I came to Jackson Heights. Then we went to Corona.
Yep.
Then Elmhurst. And then Jamaica, Queens.
Got it. Yeah, our family's in Rego Park, and my best friend's from Bayside.
There you go. So, and now I'm out in Long Island somewhere. In Farmingdale.
Smart man.
Yeah. But you know what? Here's the whole concept for me. Understanding, and I love reading your book, but there's so much more, obviously, and it's a very small book to me, because there is so much more to you, and there's so much more that you've given, and I want to get into what you are doing and why did you decide to help other people, and you can help yourself, obviously. But what made you decide, that what I have is a gift and I want to share it with more than just myself and my immediate family. I want to share it with the world.
Yep.
Because that's a big decision to take on.
Yeah. People ask me, how long have I been doing this? And my answer is always forever.
Yeah.
And I have always been doing this. I was the guy that girls would ask for advice in high school. Like, hey, I got problems with my boyfriend. They probably liked me. I didn't have the confidence to know it, but they'd ask me to help with their boyfriends. And I always had answers, and I'd listen and I'd help, and I would do what I was doing. I don't know of another way, meaning I help people. That's what I do. I believe we're meant to do that as people. Like when my daughter and I, back before this great weird year last year we had, I don't even like to use the C word or the P word, it's this unique year, the Zoom year, right? Before we had the Zoom 2020, let's call it that. We used to go figure skating on the weekends. I'm a hockey player, so I would take her, my hockey skate, she'd figure skate. We'd go around the circle on the weekends. We would just like walk around the rink looking for kids that couldn't skate, help them tie their skates tighter. We would, no different than a martial arts instructor. I would sit down like you're sitting on a toilet, I would explain, because that's how you get down low and you can skate well. And I just love helping people, and she does too. So I've always loved helping people, probably because I don't think many people really help me. And I have a relationship with my older sister. I don't think she sat down and taught me stuff because we're 4 years apart, boy, girl, different habits, stuff like that. So I don't think I've really had anybody sit down. My dad taught me how to catch a ball, build model airplanes and stuff, but no one really taught me how to live effectively. And when I found personal development, I'm like, you know what? Jim Rohn was my earliest mentor. There's a picture up there of Jim. That was my earliest mentor, Jim and I together. And awesome. He's great. Jim was like there's my dad. Legend, and then there's my business dad, right? My life dad. And when I found personal development and I learned that you can get better, I'm like, I'm going to help people get this, because unfortunately it is not being taught anywhere. Like it is not, unless you seek it out or pay for it. It dribbles into classes, but it's just a dribble. Even in the martial arts world, I mean, that should be point blank is personal development, but they're training it. Like I said, when I was with you in California, like they're training it like it's karate or it's Brazilian jiu-jitsu, instead of like training it like it's being an effective human being. Yeah. So I have always loved helping people, and it is my purpose and my passion. I wake up in the morning wanting to do it, and I go to bed at night wanting to help people. And it's an obsession. It's a genetic defect I have called over-delivering and helping.
That's a beautiful defect.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be amazing?
I would be a horrible narcissist.
Wouldn't it be amazing if more people had that defect, right?
I think they have it. I think they're scared of it because this is what you're up against when you go to help people. It's a really fine line between somebody having to admit that they're wrong or they've been doing it incorrectly. So whenever you offer advice to somebody, you're actually not only offering advice, you're actually asking them to admit that up till now they've been doing something incorrectly or not great, or there's a better way, or they don't know. So you're actually playing with people's insecurities. Professionally, that's what I do. I play with people's insecurities, and I have to like meet them, build them up, and help them grow. So that's where the fear comes in for a lot of people. That's why they're not that great at it.
You know, you played hockey. I used to live near Flushing Meadow Park. So I used to roller skate to the ice skating rink.
Oh, that's funny.
Ice skate. That was my weekends. You know? And it was so much fun. But the first time I actually learned how to get on the ice was on a date. And
you're like Rocky.
I hate it. I was terrible. I fell. I was so embarrassed. The next day I went there and I said, I got to teach myself how to do this, because I was so embarrassed on the date. And then from there on, I just always did it. And so and like bike riding, all the crazy things that we did, because I lived in Queens.
Yep.
No fear. And I think one of the things of having no fear is, I think you talk about that, because it's that fear that stops us. It's that negative thinking that I can't do this, I'm not good enough. Those are the things that I see how I've overcome so much adversity. I only lived with my parents 5 years total.
Wow, where'd you go afterwards?
Thank God I had a sister. I'm number 10 of 12.
Wow.
So my oldest sister took me in. She took me in when my parents came to the United States and they scattered all the kids around. So she took me in Colombia. And then when I came to the United States, I lived with my parents a couple of years, and then that was the end of it. I lived from the age of 8 to 10 with my parents, and then my sister took over. And I thank her for that, because it changed my life. Because I would have gone down the wrong path for sure.
100%.
But it wasn't because I didn't know any better. I by the age of 10, I was already on the street. I was basically, my parents didn't even know I didn't come home for 3 days.
Wow.
It was crazy. Yeah, so it was, but I was having a great time. You know, you're having fun, you're hanging out with your friends, you're living off the street. So
Yep.
new adversity. You know, I've almost died so many different times that I've learned from every lesson I've ever had. And martial arts only came about by accident. My friend's father was an instructor, and I tagged along, and his father started teaching me. But what I found out through all this accumulation of knowledge and understanding is that the human brain is the most incredible machine, computer there is in the world. And when I sat there at this conference that we were at, and you started talking, I'm like, yeah, everything he's saying just resonates. Because you were not bullshitting. You were telling it like it is. And so many people, even coaches, they guide people the wrong way. They don't truly help them. They're not listening. I fired coaches because they were telling me the same thing, and there's like, they came with a script instead of like listening to me. I'm like, wait a minute. So I was like, I'll give them another chance. I was like, no more chances. It's my life.
Your time.
Right, for me, right? So that's why, for me, coaching is so important. That's why I created this whole podcast, because I get to talk to people all over the world, and I'm so fortunate. And look, I'm talking to you, and
I love it. It gives you a resource, right?
Yeah, I'm living in the moment. I'm not thinking about tomorrow or yesterday. I'm thinking about our conversation. And, one of the things that you said to me is, how can I be of service to you? How can I help you today? And I said, just being here. Because your message is similar to the message I'm giving people. It's like, you have to believe in yourself. Would you mind sharing how you can change someone's perspective, someone who has negativity, doubt, and so forth, on themselves?
Yeah. So give me an example of, I'm going to ask you to draw me a person.
Okay.
Like literally, there's Julie, and she is from the Bronx, and blah blah blah. You explain it, and I will literally give you a pattern. So instead of giving it's sort of like the difference between a street fight and martial arts is everything. They're not the same thing. Do you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Once you remove the mat, the referees, and the walls, and everything goes, it's different. So instead of just giving a script that'll never work in the real world, or sometimes literally give me a real life world scenario.
Okay. So an old friend of mine, Fabrizio.
Yep.
He was, out of 4 kids, he was the third.
Mm-hmm.
So he always followed in his brother's footsteps.
Okay.
Never sure of himself.
Okay.
His other siblings did pretty well, but he was always down on himself, sometimes depressed. Sometimes he was not good enough to be doing anything. And every time I was around him, I'm like, dude, let's just do this. Let's just go do what we're going to do. And a lot of times he would always say, no, no, no. And it was me coaxing him to say, you can do this.
And once he got out there, he was fine, right?
It was fine. But
okay.
Had I not coaxed him and prodded him, he would have not done all the great things that we did. And I'm not talking about negative things. I mean, having fun. Let's go play football.
Okay. So do you think you're coercing or coaching, manipulating, whatever you want to do, becomes a permanent effect, or do you think it becomes just temporary? Honestly.
The whole time he and I were friends, I always had to like prod him.
Okay, got it. So what most people do is they look at coaching and they look at helping people is they just want to fix this moment. Like, I'm just going to get my kid to get their homework done and get through the night. Get through the workout. Get through the thing. This is where most people have to understand. So if somebody said to me, they're depressed, we have to realize there's two things going on. They maybe physically be depressed,
Right.
but the word depression is a physical word, not a physical word. It's a linguistical statement attached to a series of emotions that people call depression. So what happens is someone goes, oh my God, I feel bad today. Well, what's wrong? You must be depressed. Well, fuck, that's what it is. I guess I'm depressed, right? And this is what happens. And every time they feel something that's sort of like it, vanilla, chocolate, strawberry, anything like it, right? It's like it automatically is similar. This is where sometimes people confuse cultures of people, and the news and the media is good at this. Like, Colombian, Puerto Rican, Mexican, all the same. No, not at all. Does that make sense? But we put them in a box, right? Oh, Italians and Jews, similar. Yes and no, right? The human part, right? So we do this, and the media is masters of this, and it's painting a very wide brushstroke. So I said this when we were together at the event. I said, if I explained what I do, the best way to explain it is, I got friends that do good things and friends that do bad things.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to play bad, but my friends that do the not so good things, they work for the media. They work for CNN, Fox, NBC. They get people's attention. They do not build them up. They break them down so they can watch shows. I use the same techniques to build them up and get them better. So if I was working with a depressed person, I would say, so how would you know if you were depressed? How would you actually know you were depressed? And they would have a formula of what they would do. They would say, well, I'm having a bad day, this and that. I said, okay. So we were just playing ball. Were you depressed when we were playing ball? No, I was enjoying it. Okay. So what you're telling me is you're not depressed all the time. You're depressed certain times. The second you get someone to realize they're in control. So I do hypnosis, right? I'm one of the best in the world at it. And if you don't think you do hypnosis, all martial artists are great hypnotists. Because when you get punched in the face, I do Krav Maga, when you get hit, or you get an elbow to the throat or something, you have to hypnotize yourself so you can keep living. Do you know what I'm saying? So like people, Mike Tyson, hypnotist, right? So I would actually move pain for people. Like, oh, you got pain in your shoulder? And then I'd move the pain to their knee. And then they're like, whoa, I'm a little bit in control. So I would get a human being to say, okay, it's not that you're not motivated. You're motivated sometimes more than others. Just that distinction gives people half a chance. Someone says, I don't know how to do a roundhouse kick. I would say, is it that you don't know or you have little to no experience? You know what? I have little to no experience. In that moment, they realize something simple. How many times I've been lying to myself. So it's a long play. I taught this morning the difference between seeds and plants. And when you seed something, it's a long-term play. Like a lot of people in Central America and North America were very short-term thinkers. I don't know how Colombia is versus Europe and Asia, but they think 1,000, 2,000, 10,000 year terms, right? We think 2 to 4 year elections. So they're like building 100-year plans on things. And we're like 6 weeks. Where the hell is it? So when I seed something, I would want to know, are you depressed or are you having a bad day or are you ready to kill yourself? Well, I'm definitely not ready to kill myself. I think I'm just having a bad day. Okay, great. So this day will end in a few hours. It'll be midnight and we got a new chance tomorrow. Getting people to realize their language is creating their reality is my first step. And they're realizing it. I'm not telling them this. Right. So when a kid says in martial arts, I can't do that, you say, you are correct. You currently cannot do it. There's no way you can do it yet. Not as well as I just did. But you can do something that looks like it. Okay. And then they do something that kind of looks like it, but you gave them half a chance. And that's where the confidence goes up.
Yeah. So it's building that confidence. So
the confidence comes from realizing you're in control of reality by how you are describing and linguistically programming the things in your life.
Right. So we're talking self-image.
We're talking literal communication. We're talking about the physical word choice you use has more to do with your current actions than how much you really believe in yourself.
Mhm.
Each word is fully loaded with a series of emotions that were created socially. Like just the terms, like I'm going to just throw words out there: politics, vaccination, corona. I throw words like this. These are fully loaded terms.
Oh,
Do
yeah.
you know what I'm saying? There's emotions involved with them that are predisposed in your nervous system. We are not going to talk about that right now because that's not our discussion.
Right.
But those are fully loaded.
Mhm.
Someone needs to check the clip, pull it out, and rack the slide and make sure there's not a bullet in there. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
These are fully
It's
loaded things.
It's loaded.
It's
Yeah.
loaded. So we need to unload it and go, okay, let's have a conversation about something different, not that. Depression's a fully loaded conversation.
It is.
Having a tough day is not a fully loaded conversation, but depression comes with it, the social marketing. Does that make sense to what I'm saying?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I totally get it, because you're right. It's the words you say to yourself, right? It's those words maybe that someone else says to you.
Yep.
It's what you accept to be true about yourself or not.
Yep.
Yes.
It's how you define what you define. You took a cigarette and go, oh, that feels good. And when you were 8, right? I saw a cigarette and go, my parents would kill me. I don't do that. Like,
Right.
I told someone recently, they smoke. And I said, okay, what do you believe about quitting? It's hard. I said, believing quitting is hard is a wonderful belief to have before you've started.
Yeah.
So if you haven't started yet, you should believe quitting is freaking hard, right?
Yeah.
After you've started, it's time for you to believe it's actually easy if I choose to.
Yeah.
So we've got to realize, like, put the right thing in the right place.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's why I always change the way I do things.
Yep.
Because I don't want to live in yesterday. I want to live in the moment.
Yep.
I want to
Agreed.
plan for tomorrow, but I want to live right now.
You agreed.
I want to be totally present, right?
And you are doing it, I can tell, by even just your vocal patterns.
Oh, thank you. It's when you come into your own, and to say that could be a little bit of something, because coming into your own to me is believing in yourself, believing in your values and what you think that you're going to accomplish or what you plan to accomplish. That's how I see things. Can I throw a couple of terms out for you?
I'll take anything you want. Man, you could throw anything at me. I'm one of these people. Just show me what you got. Pull a gun, pull a knife. I'm in for the fight.
I have a few for you. So I have 6 for you. I have a success mechanism. To be successful for me, I think knowing what the end result will be helpful. 3, positive thinking. 2, positive thinking, and not allowed to be a negative thought. If there's a negative thought, positive thinking doesn't work. Stage fright. It's in your head. Imagination practice. And I think the other one is law of attraction. Which one do you want to hit?
You pick.
Let's go law of attraction.
Okay.
Talk to me about that.
Well, here's the deal. I believe everything has its place and time in this world. I also believe things can be abused. Too much water, you'll drown, even though water is good for you. Too much vitamin C, you'll pee it out. It's going to spend your whole time on the toilet. Too much of anything is no good. So it isn't about the law of attraction. Is we attract what it is that we are, what it is we think, and what our reality is, and based on the social constructs of what's going on. So if you were to ask me if I lived in my own, could I make everything problem in the world go away living in that corner by myself? Probably could, and I would believe that I could. Mm-hmm. So we as human beings are very highly connected. There is an absolute dramatic force out there in the world that is attempting to get us to realize that we are not connected. But if there is truth in the matter, is we are all connected as one. I'm going to get into a little, this is deeply related in every major religion. A lot of times they hide this, but Buddhism, Judaism, Mormon culture, Christianity, they all cover a version of Hinduism. They cover a version of we are all one and we are all connected. So if you believe good things happen to you and you really believe it, good things will happen to you. If you don't believe good things will happen to you, you won't. So all these things need to be in alignment. So let me give you what I mean by law of attraction.
Right.
If your thoughts, your actions, your feelings, your mental states and emotions are all working together, then you win. I could always tell. I had front row tickets to the Coyotes for 3 years. I sat behind the bench. I would see on the glass, especially when my Rangers came to town, I would see them over there. I'd go move over to the other bench, trade with the guys. I knew who was going to win the game based on the national anthem. They went out for the national anthem based on how anxious, excited, or focused they were. I was right within 75% of the time I could guess who was going to win based on what they were about to do, based on where they were. Now, they could come back different from the dressing room. Right. I got it. But it's what you attract is what you create. So there's this thought in hockey that if you give up a goal a minute before you go in the locker room, you typically lose the game. And the reason why is you just got scored on, you go, oh, shoulders go down, and that's the people that go into the break. No different than what you do before you go to bed. So it isn't just what you say and what you think. You can't go, I'm a money magnet, money comes to me. Those are morons. I'm just going to be very clearly, it's better than going, I'm an asshole and nobody likes me. But it's idiotic to think that everything's just going to work out. But the key is to really believe these certain things and to realize you're in control of what's going on in your life, and you will attract more. So if you're in a pissed off mood, you'll get pissed off people. So I truly believe in it. It is a tool. It is not an end result. And a lot of people think if I'm just attracting things, I'll get what I want. It may not be your opportunity to get it that day. So it's not guaranteed it's going to come to you. Does that cover enough on that?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Well, I also think part of the law of attraction is how we feel about ourselves, right?
Yep.
Because it's what we throw out in the world that's going to attract certain things, right? Opportunities only present themselves if we are open to them. If we're not open to them, then we'll never see them. Right?
Let me give you a concept of law of attraction where the simplicity of it. Sure. People say anything worth having, you're going to have to work hard for, which there's some truth there, right? There's a little truth. Mm-hmm. Here's the problem with that. People then make things hard. After you get past that, you spend 30 years doing your kata, right? It's easier now, right? It's easier. Whatever jujitsu, whatever anybody's doing, right? So now it's easier. We go out of our way to make it harder because we want to attract what our belief system is. Mm-hmm. So I watch so many entrepreneurs and all kinds of people say, anything worthwhile, you have to work hard for, and it's tough. And then they make life tough and hard because they want to attract difficult people. So if you don't love you, you will then attract relationships that will be hard and difficult. If you think people are mean, you will attract people that are mean. Here's the crazy part. We as a society currently believe that we're all different. And the problem with that is we go out of our ways to separate from each other instead of realizing our sameness. Mm-hmm. So we are actively looking, and I have to get over this sometimes, that we are not different. We do different things. Right. We're actually very much the same, but we do different things. And doing different things is different than being different. We all want to be loved, unless we are psychologically deranged from some hardship we had as a child, right. Which happens, right?
It does.
We all want to be loved. We all want to be appreciated. And if we were more often with each other, we would have a better world.
Yeah. You know, I've always believed as a child, I played with people from all different races, all different religions, and I saw them no differently than I would see myself.
Why would you?
Right, because I was a child. What happens is society starts separating us, and that's the danger. Why can't we be like children when it comes to that?
Because we're dangerous to them. Yeah. If we can collaborate, we're scary.
Oh, yeah.
And these are frightened little fuckers.
Exactly. I mean, look, we kind of came together because of this crisis we've had, but now we're separating again, and you can see it. It's so evident. Yep. People are doing the wrong things again. They're not. Humanity's falling apart. And so it's like, how do
it's being tested. It's being tested right now.
It is.
And what is important to people is changing. So like the storyline of what people want is different. So there was a storyline that we all bought into for a certain period of time, which excellence is wonderful. Go to be your best. The world growth and progress is what makes the world better, in my opinion. Okay. Right. Being better, making things happen. Letting everybody win, letting everybody feel important just for the sake of it doesn't make anybody earn anything. So people are not forced to get better, which destroys a species. So we as humans need to understand the difference between evolving as people and forcing a social agenda. And those two things don't go together, not on the same day.
No, no, they don't.
Because how good would martial arts be if all you had to do is show up?
That's part of it.
But remember what you said, it's part of it, but you don't get better from showing up, do you?
You know, absolutely not. In anything. I mean, in a relationship, you can't just take her to dinner or take him to dinner or be part of it without understanding or trying to understand the other person,
Yep.
where they're coming from.
Yep.
Because a relationship is understanding. It's that connection that we have to do.
Agreed.
And it's somewhat physical, yes, but it has to go deeper than that. Because to me, a relationship, I can have an amazing relationship with someone who I'm not sexually attracted to.
Yep.
And a lot of people may not even understand that, because they think a man and a heterosexual relationship, a man and a woman, that's it, that they only have one thing in common. No, they don't. It's that intellect. It's that connection.
And that might be that person's belief.
Correct. And that's where I want to talk to you about. It's in your head, right?
Yep.
So what is it in our head that stops us from being the best we can be?
Well, that's where my concept of my book comes out. Average sucks. It's our average. It's our identity. So we have an identity. What's that? Yeah. You definitely got to get the book, everybody. AverageSucks.com. Get the book. Yeah, it's an easy read. It's powerful. The concept, we have patterns and programs that are built into what we do. This is the reason martial arts is so powerful. It's offering an alternative to fight or flight. It's called strategy. So somebody pulls a knife, I know what to do. Somebody pulls a gun, I know what to do. Someone comes to my house, I know what to do. I've been training for this. Does that make sense? Okay. If you don't have that, then you don't have that. So there's nothing you do. Like hockey, I know how to pivot. I know how to pull the puck. I know how to shoot. I have a ridiculous shot, okay? But the point is, we have patterns in our heads of what we do. So when I was ridiculously single, my pattern was, who's new? Who else can I date? What else can I go on? How do I pick up the waitress while I'm on a date? Like this is what you're thinking 20 years ago. You know what I'm saying? You turn that stuff off if you choose to mature. It depends what it is that you want. So I don't think anyone is doing anything wrong. I think people are operating from patterns that are different than yours, or patterns they haven't outgrown yet. So I just think this is a belief I have that's really powerful, that everything we do has a positive intention. Procrastination is wonderful. Oh, Michael, how's procrastination good? If you can procrastinate to overeat, it is wonderful.
Oh, yeah.
If quitting's bad. No, quitting is good. Because if you can quit Little League, you could quit smoking later on. So we sometimes use the wrong, well, Michael, killing is wrong. Yes, killing can be wrong. But if you kill off bad ideas or kill off bad habits, you have to use them correctly. So you can't get rid of bad habits. You have to destroy them. So what most people don't recognize is there's a place and time for everything, okay? There's a time for hate. There are things that you should probably strategically hate to get you to stop loving them so you could then learn how to live without them. So I'm just telling you, everything in this world has positive ways of looking at it if you're willing to spin, not be a positive thinking person, be a reframer.
Right. I have a quirk with that word hate.
Go ahead. What's your quirk?
It's a 4-letter word. Okay.
What's wrong with 4-letter words?
Just kidding. So because if we can hate one thing, we can hate another thing.
Okay. So let's help you. Let me help you with absolutes here real quick. I'm going to help you with absolutes. Yeah. Anytime you got an absolute, you got a problem. Okay. You have no ability to change. Would you love someone that is suicidal to hate the idea of the thing they were thinking about that was going to kill them? Would you be okay with them hating that?
I have to agree with you on that one. Okay. Yes, would.
And on their way of hating it, finding a new way to live. So there is a way to use it. It's sparing, it's necessary, and it's an important part of life to use at the appropriate time. There is no all-knowing, all-wizard Oz this. I mean, I think God even sometimes is probably looking at us going, please, will you just do some of the work yourself? Do you know what I'm saying? Like I'm busy. Do you know what I'm saying? I got stuff going on. Can you do some of it, right? So that's my take, is like, I'm not saying you should use it. I'm just saying there's a place for it.
Right.
that you might need it for 38 seconds.
Yeah. No,
Don't
totally agree with
discount it.
that one. Right.
Because if you get rid of it, it won't be there when you need it.
Mm. Very good point.
Different perspective, isn't it?
It totally is. So you're, and I see the way you work. You work on perspectives.
Yep.
Because that's how we can change our thinking.
Yep.
That's how we can see things.
Yep.
If I only see things one way, then I have only one perspective. But if I can start to understand so much more, my perspective can change, and it can change based on my growth, right?
There's two ways to change your life. One is your actions. Number two is your perception. Your perception of you and other people's perception of you. If you can get your perception of you to change and other people to believe it, you'll do anything. So my daughter Maya says, after the Olympics, what do I do? Wow. Adults don't talk that way. Wow. And part of me is like, well, and then I'm like, you know what? I'm going to let her run with this one, right? Her perception is that'll be an easy thing I can do. I'm not going to convince her otherwise. My parents would have talked me out of it and destroyed my dream. I'm like, you know what? After the Olympics, we'll do books, we'll go on a tour, and then we'll build a company. Great. Figure skating Olympics. No problem. Okay. She's 9. Here's what I'm getting at. That's perception. That's not action. Okay. So I would tell you, if you had to pick one or the other, Mike Tyson he was the greatest boxer of all time. There's no questions. Let's not even argue. Anyone wants to argue with me? Mike lives here from time to time in Phoenix. Come argue with Mike and I, and you'll tell me if it's wrong. The guy, without a doubt, any day of the week in his prime, better than anybody. Yeah. Perception, his belief of himself, customato, spend more time convincing him he was a descendant of a Greek god. Read his book. It's one of the best I've ever read. Undisputed Truth. He convinced himself that he was a descendant of a Greek god, a Spartan. And he convinced himself of that. And that is who showed up in the ring. Now, it didn't hurt. He physically had an incredible stature and he knew how to fight. And he was angry and mad and everything else, right?
Yes.
But his perception destroyed you before he even showed up. Sun Tzu, Art of War, done.
Yeah, absolutely. One of my plans is I'm going to move to Arizona.
Nice.
But it's a 5-year plan. Okay. So maybe we'll be neighbors. And my goal is to continue having my place here, but then have a place there as well.
Smart move.
Initially, I was totally going to move out of New York entirely, but I've changed my perception because I don't want to leave the people here that I've already made a commitment to, and I'm changing their lives. Because even though I'm a martial artist, I decided that I'm more of a change artist. I want to change their perspective. I want to change their thoughts, their ideas, so that they can become better than they thought they could ever be. So I'm like, I don't want to leave them high and dry, but down the line, I want to still pursue what I want. I love the heat. I'm Colombian.
Now, let me ask you this. I have a lot of Colombian friends out here. We've done Colombia at Christmas Eve. Woo, you guys are crazy. Fun. You know what I'm saying? What you do the night. Grandma's dancing on a table, Christmas Eve. You know, you guys really hit Christmas Eve hard. So is that everyone in Colombia does that? I mean, it's like, it's.
I came when I was 8, so I don't know.
It was nuts. And then I've been to a Colombian Christmas party. It's fun. But let me ask you this. Would you be leaving them high and dry, or is there a time and place where they're going to have to be sufficient and you're going to have to speed up how fast you can get them sufficient?
Well, that's my goal. I want to be able to leave them, but every so often come and check in on them.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you, you could do 5 years, you could do 1 year, you could do 6 weeks. You're just going to have to figure out about how you're going to linguistically have the conversation. Say, look, guys, my calling, my future, I'm getting called to the desert. I'm going to be here also. Every one of us is going to have to get better quicker. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And we had a 5-year plan. I'd like to do it in 5 months. Here's what's going to happen. Here's how we're going to do it. And every one of you is going to grow. So you could do it in any period of time you want.
Right. Yeah, I agree. But I've already started that, by the way.
Great.
Yeah.
I've seen you soon.
I've already started putting some seeds in there, you know. So when we think about everything, the fact that you and I are talking, and it's because I had the courage, if you will, to ask, right? Mm-hmm. And so many people lack it. How can you convince, or how do you help someone understand that? They call it stage fright. But stage fright could be asking a girl out. Stage fright can be asking someone for a raise. Stage fright can be going as a public speaker. Stage fright can be starting to write your book. And, you know, in your book, I love the fact that, you know, you talked about that you kind of procrastinated in doing it.
I kind of
Eventually
did.
you pulled the plug and did it. And I'm so happy you did. And you did the podcasting.
Mm-hmm.
Are you still doing the podcast?
Yeah, I got more coming out. More coming out.
Okay, that's what I'm waiting for. Good. Okay. So when we talk about stage fright, there's so many different levels to it. How can we help someone?
First thing we're going to do is we're not going to call it stage fright anymore, because that's just frightening in itself. That's like calling it Freddy Krueger. It's like calling it Jason Voorhees. It's scary. It's calling it Pablo Escobar. You got to have a tough conversation with your own money. Scary, right?
Yeah.
So we're not going to do that. Okay. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to say it's not stage fright. What we're going to say is you're about to do something that you haven't done before. Yeah. And there's a series of outcomes of how well this could work out. Majority of us play out a scenario in our heads of up to the point of it not working out, and that's our fear. So we want to go talk to this girl over there, and we visualize her saying something so vividly out of our own eyes that we don't do it. So when I work with sharpshooters and Navy SEALs and PTSD components and people that deal with a lot of different things, one of the things that I learned is, in order for them to live effectively afterwards, okay, in order to be able to be a person that's able to live their life, if they're like, oh, I'm about to go shoot John Smith, who's got 4 kids, a dog, they're never going to be able to do their job. Right. So what happens is they do their thing, then afterwards they don't see it in first person, they see it in third person. So what I do is I'd walk people into scenarios and I'd say, okay, great, let's have at least 3 to 5 scenarios of how this could work out. Okay. And then I want to look at the scenarios as an observer, not in first person. So then we're getting out of it being us, and we're seeing it from the outside. Now, this is how I get people over rape and abuse and issues. And actually, I've had hundreds of very well-known speakers. I get them over the fear of public speaking. People that are killing it these days, that have got them over their frights and their issues and problems. So what I'm getting at is I would have somebody look at that. So, okay, so you're going to walk up to the girl. I don't want you to walk up to her until you can have 7 possible outcomes that are different. I'm going to walk up, she's going to say no. I'm going to walk up, she's going to ignore me. I'm going to walk up to her and she is going to hit me. I'm going to walk up to her, she's going to walk away. I'm going to walk up to her and I won't know what to say. I'm going to walk up to her and she'll be nice. Okay. And then we're going to start looking at it. Once they start playing multiple scenarios, this is what's crazy. Option 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 dilutes the intensity of the first fearful one. Right. So if you have 9 scenarios, 9 opportunities, it's not 90% possible one. It's probably divided 20, 30% on each of these, and the intensity goes down. And then you're like, you know what, let's go do some betting right now. Let's see how this works out. Let's see which one of these, let's see if we can be right. Let's guess which one we get. Let's see what happens. Boom.
That's perfect for the imagination. Yep. Right? Practice. Because you have to imagine what could happen, what could not happen. So that brings it all right into that aspect of, you know what? It's in your head that she's going to say no, but what if she does? She hasn't said no yet. So unless you think you're God or you're a mind reader, she might say yes. Then what happens? So really, are we scared she's going to say no, or are we scared we don't know what to say next? Then we do what we do in the military martial arts. We plan for all scenarios. Okay. Now she says, hi, and you don't know what to say. Well, let's add that. So then you're actually drawing the scenario, and it's something called game tape. We're living it in advance. And when you live it in advance, it's easier to live later. There's the attraction thing again. Also, you're talking about the success mechanism I talked about. If you have an idea of what the end result could be, right? Yep. Because you've already played it in your head. Yes. And that, I think that's genius, because you're getting out of your own way. Yep. Right? Absolutely. Yep. So true. And that's the key. You're making it easier for yourself. And if it's easier, it's easier. So it's getting rid of those self-doubts. If you have a negative thought, it's not going to let you have that positive one. Yep. Right. So, it's impossible. Yeah. You can't. And even if it's 50-50, you're still 50% of the time not going to be happy. That's not good. Yeah. Listen, for me, happiness is waking up in the morning. Whew, I
You made
woke
it
up.
easy. You made it easy for yourself. You won. You got to do it about 10,000 more times.
Yeah, yeah. You know, and the thing is, I live in gratitude because I'm grateful for the opportunities I have. I'm grateful to be able to talk to you. I'm grateful to be able to work out. I'm grateful for everything.
You get to help people. You're grateful you get to help people professionally.
Yeah, absolutely.
We all have to be a little more grateful for the things we have and appreciative instead of thinking about what we don't have.
Right. Can you talk to me, because I'm a big proponent of coaching.
Yep.
And
Yep.
I always ask my guests to talk about why a coach is so important to have in their life.
So here's where a coach is so important. It gives you a different vantage point. I'll give you an example of this. At the movie theater, if there's a lady or man behind you, they have a better understanding of your neckline, of the back of your neck and the little moles on your neck and your hairline than you ever will your entire life. You could be 66 years old. In that 2 hours, they have a better understanding because you've spent no time looking there. We only see what we see as people. All coaches do is let me just get clear what coaching is for. If you need to be motivated, you're probably not looking for a coach. You're looking for a motivator. It's a different thing. What a coach does is they guide you, and they have been there before or helped someone else through it before, and they're going to make it easier and get you there faster. So this is why I recommend coaching for people. It is a shortcut. If you're looking to be motivated, you can go watch Rocky to go get motivated. You might get motivation from a coach, but really a coach is someone that can share with you a different way. And here's the cool part. Your coach may be wrong. They may absolutely tell you something that is bad advice. But the fact that you had that conversation, you learned what not to do. And then you came up with a better solution. So like with Mr. Miyagi, waxing and painting fences was never about the painting the fence. It was about the muscle memory of thinking for yourself. So as a coach, I may give you bad advice. I don't do that, but maybe I did.
Personally.
And I would never, I wouldn't. Mike, at the moment. But then you're like, you know what? That was not good advice. Here's what I'm going to do. And then here's what I'm going to do. You become confident. So their job is to enter and then exit. And what I mean by that is to enter your life, leave you better until you find your next coach. And that's what I always tell people. That's what you're looking for. Coaches are temporary. They're based on a project that we're currently involved in. Someone's like, I've been my coach for 10 years. You both better have grown a lot, because I don't recommend that.
No, me neither. You know, and for me, I have several coaches. For me, it's important to be able to have them listen to me and be honest. And don't bullshit me, you know, and you know, that's one of the most important things. I want my coach to be super honest with me and tell me if I'm screwing up. Right?
You got to tell people the tough conversations. You have to always treat it like you're I always give an example as a coach. The hardest part in the world is like you're in the military and you got to knock on the door of a parent who lost their child. And you've got to proceed to break that parent's heart to do your job. And that's the whole thing as a coach. We've got to sometimes break the heart of our client and tell them the truth that they don't need to hear, or that they don't want to hear, that they need to hear. And that is a good coach.
Yeah.
Someone that's going to look at you and go, no, I don't agree with you. I don't agree with what's going on. Yeah, well, you and I are in the same scenario with this.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. This is why it's so awesome talking to you today.
I'm loving it. I got a couple minutes left. Anything else I can serve you with?
You know what? I think maybe down the line, maybe we can do another one.
Yeah, I'd love to. I enjoy the conversation. I even took some notes. I was sitting here writing during this. I'm like, things about coaches, you got my brain thinking. So anytime you're thinking this way, it is a great thing. So I got a video shoot coming up in here in a few minutes. I appreciate you having the courage to ask.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, my friend. I appreciate you. Keep on being you, and let's make the world even better.
Yes. Cool.
Take care. Take care, everyone. Go live a big life, everyone. Take care.
All right. Thank you.